Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So this should be interesting. We're going to talk about vasopressin and oxytocin, also cortisol, also some findings that I'm coming across as far as narcissism. So vasopressin is actually our antidiuretic hormone, and it reacts differently with men. So it causes bonding in men. So I want to delve a little bit deeper into that with narcissists, but oxytocin for women seems to increase our bonding with men if we're having sex. I don't know how it goes with the LGBTQ stuff. I apologize for that. This is just the studies. I don't know what type of men and women they bring in. I'm assuming heterosexual. So the oxytocin that's released is different in men. So when men have an orgasm, they only get that oxytocin from what I'm reading with women that they love, which is kind of interesting. So there's something a little bit different to that. And that's often why, in my perspective, it seems often that women mistake sex for love. So men get that oxytocin when they're in love, and women get it when they orgasm in general, when they're with someone. So cortisol is our stress hormone. Oxytocin is the feel-good hormone, the cuddle hormone. Now, how does this relate to narcissism? Why am I bringing all this up? I found it interesting. There are differences between men and women that I just stated. For narcissists, I wanted to delve a little deeper into it. So there's a study that shows narcissistic men have 3 times higher levels of cortisol than narcissistic women. And cortisol, that's that hormone that indicates the stress level within humans. It's released by our body in a reaction to emotional or physical stress. And it's interesting that men have such a higher level. So at this point in time through our studies, men, they were like 75% of the narcissists. It seems women are becoming more narcissistic. And some of that might be societal or changes in roles where women are becoming more empowered, but there's something more than just power. And maybe it's women are getting more of this cortisol release because they're taking on higher demanding jobs that can cause stress. And when you have stress, it causes aggression. We see that with our narcissist. So there's also that diminished brain area, emotional thinking. So narcissists, how do they react during stress? They act out, they rage, they blame shift. So there is healthy versus unhealthy narcissism. And this is interesting. There is no association found between higher cortisol levels and healthy narcissism in men or women. So there is healthy narcissism where, sometimes you do have to go first. Like if I'm having a heart attack and you have like a sliver, I have to go first at the emergency room. So I'm going to be rude to you and push you aside because I'm about to die. So that's something like putting yourself above somebody else, but there's a reason for it. Like you need to be seen more. So you can see that was narcissistic. You didn't have empathy that they had a splinter. It's kind of justifiable in a way. So, you know, narcissists, you know, have a low self-esteem and they present higher self-esteem. It can be healthy to be confident in yourself, but usually you're confident for real reasons. And the narcissist, it's just a whole different breed. So there was some stuff, the lack of oxytocin, is it something that's making us ill? So there are 6 symptoms and diseases that relate to oxytocin deficiency. And I want to delve into it more to see how, I can't tell if I'm still recording. Everything's disappearing on me. Oh, did it disconnect? Okay, good. Sorry about that, guys. So I want to delve into the brain chemicals and how that relates to the bonding. But right now, I want to talk about the lack of oxytocin because that's the feel good hormone. And a lot of us are struggling with what we're going through. So there are diseases that are related to oxytocin deficiency, also different symptoms. Um, so just as certain things will increase oxytocin, other things will decrease it. So we went through this breakup. A lot of us are depressed, and we need to kind of build back up our oxytocin, our feel good things, hugs, physical hugs, reconnecting with people. They found too that when you feel that people do trust you, it's hard to build trust with people, but it releases oxytocin when you feel that you're trustworthy. The narcissist, you know, they know they're not trustworthy. So aggression could be a sign of oxytocin deficiency. So our narcissists, they have that high level of cortisol, and the oxytocin will kind of counteract it to keep us in balance. And when it's off balance, we're off balance and we can actually feel it. So aggression, and this is where I find it interesting, is the male narcissist. I've dealt with male narcissists, so that's my exposure to them, but they can be aggressive. Mine weren't physically aggressive or verbally aggressive, but they were the passive aggressive, which is still aggressive. So they weren't outwardly doing it. They did a lot of the silent treatments or the dirty looks or dismissive. But with oxytocin, it has the ability to change how our body reacts to all different kinds of social situations. And the brain oxytocin can keep adrenaline surges in check. So we're going through all these adrenaline rushes, this rebalancing of our brain. We were left in such this fight or flight type mode that we started having our levels off balance, the brain damage that goes with it. So now here, if there is that altered state, the mechanisms that help with the suppression of aggressive behaviors will be negatively affected. So it's harder for the narcissist with the high levels of cortisol. Like I said, they had 3 times more in the narcissistic men. So how do you know if you have a oxytocin deficiency? So this is where there's little or no pleasure during sex. Like a lot of narcissists, you know, this is the hard part because sex with a narcissist is more of a, you know how they talk about the rapes, how it's not a physical sexual connection, it's more of a power connection. So there is a pleasure that they receive. And narcissists, you know, they like the power part of it. I do think they enjoy the sex part, but it's hard for me to describe what I'm trying to say. So with their porn addictions, I want to do a video on how there is actual brain damage from being addicted to porn. So the pleasure, trying to make my point, the pleasure, the pleasure that they get during sex is diminished because of the changes in their brain due to the porn addictions. What they do is they start objectifying things. That's why they do a lot of close-ups in porn, to where they're looking at just certain body parts as opposed to the full, you know, 2 people. It's more to objectify it. And over this time, we don't really fall in love with objects. If we hug an object, it's different than if we hug a human. So is it changing their oxytocin? Also with us, we get depressed. We were normal, healthy people, but maybe there's some sexual dysfunction or pain during sex or no pleasure. Sometimes our body's reacting to the depression or the oxytocin deficiency. Also, a lack of oxytocin. And this is going to get interesting. When you lack oxytocin, you lack social interaction. And that's a lot of times we get depressed. We kind of self isolate. But the opposite of oxytocin is that cortisol. And so, lack of oxytocin is lack of social interaction. With this high cortisol, the narcissist is looking for social interaction. That's why they have to have the social interaction, the center of attention. And their levels are pretty high. So they're not being balanced with the oxytocin. So there needs to be a good balance where you don't over need people and you don't under need people, because we do need people in our lives. So oxytocin deficiency makes you feel stressed. So if you guys are being stressed right now, like, now I'm all alone. Now I got to decide, what do I do with the kids? What do I do with this? Part of it is life, but we start to feel overwhelmed because we're sad. We need that feel good hormone. And, to curb or control cortisol levels is a big concern right now, because the oxytocin balances out our cortisol, our stress hormone. So we already know that the narcissist, they just have that high cortisol and they're in this stress mode all the time. And depression is related to oxytocin deficiency, which kind of makes sense. We broke up with our person, or we're discarded. We feel sad or pissed off of what happened, and we're depressed about it. Like, why did this have to happen? Why couldn't it have worked? It worked in the beginning and we were dedicated to it and it fell apart. So people who suffer from depression, it's not just emotional struggles. They'll get physical signs such as indigestion, weight loss or gain, pessimistic attitudes where, why even bother? Nothing's going to work out. So try to fight off the pessimism and try to be optimistic. Depression can wreak havoc on us. So also, what about anxiety? Could anxiety be caused by a lack of oxytocin? So we have a lot of anxiety. We're ruminating. We're trying to figure things out. And it's exacerbated by possibly a lack of oxytocin. That's why it's good to get out and start doing things, reconnecting with people. There are things that, like I said, a hug from a human, sometimes that's where those support animals come in. You don't even have to buy a professional support animal unless you really need that, to where you need it to go on air flights or to go to work or into buildings. But if you just have a household pet, that can help too. It doesn't even have to be a cat or a dog. Some of you like guinea pigs, hamsters, things like that. Sometimes just a bird. But it'd be nice to be able to pet and feel the warmth. Birds are a little bit more where they fly around. Some people bond to them too, though. But the vasopressin, this is the thing. There's oxytocin. They have nasal drips or sprays, and they're trying to really study that a little bit more. But this vasopressin, where men bond more with the release of that. And to me, it's really interesting. This is the first time I've heard of this. So it maintains the proper osmotic concentration of the blood plasma. And as soon as the hormone, it does its function, the hormone is destroyed, excreted throughout our urine, but it helps maintain blood pressure. There are differences between men and women. Men tend to have higher incidences of high blood pressure. The secretion of this hormone is more increased if there's hemorrhagic activity when you're bleeding out. Alcohol inhibits the secretion and thereby causes the like a diuretic response. A lot of our narcissists drink, and are they not able to bond? Do they have enough of this vasopressin? Are they it's really interesting. I want to go deeper into male versus male narcissists and healthy males. But I'd like you guys to comment on how you feel about the chemicals in the brain, that there's something to it. Also, like I said, there's that break where the neurons are neurotransmitters are damaging, their brain parts of the brain aren't communicating the right way. But I just thought it was really interesting the differences between men and women, that it is part of how we bond with each other and the social interactions and the differences in levels. I find it interesting that the men have that much more cortisol, that stress. Is it because, you know, of society causing the stress? They have said, pretty much any woman can get attention, but they just gotta meet people because we have certain body parts. But men, a lot of men get overlooked. So is that like a stress to where their narcissistic mentality kicks in? There's stress that they're ever going to be recognized, that they have to go above and beyond. Is there more to it? Because it'd be nice to get to the bottom of why narcissists are the way that they are. There's a lot of evidence, like the more you get into it, the childhood trauma and the brain damage and the reactions and relating it to children. I'm a teacher in the elementary schools. I've taught everything from pre-K3 to college level criminal law. So I've seen all the different ages, all the different ways that kids act out from 3-year-olds on up. Plus I'm a mom, have 2 grandkids. And when we're around our narcissist, there are times that they're really nice. They are really pleasurable. They're funny. They're outgoing. Even I told you my best friend is with a narcissist, and I believe he's a vulnerable narcissist. There's times you can sit and talk. He is like quick to switch though. Not all narcissists are that quick to just jump. You can have a conversation and instantly he is pissed the fuck off and changes. Like mine were just kind of jerks, narcissistic jerks. But some people, there's different severities. There are different severities. Also the connection of where you fit in that narcissist life. Are you a passerby on the street? Are you a lover, a coworker, somebody from church or synagogue? Who else is around? Who are the witnesses? Because like I said, with my best friend's living, he, how the abusers are comfortable around their victims, and you know, uh, he must have felt comfortable around me to express himself, to be pissed off. And a lot of times too, you can get passionate about something, but it's different than being passionate. It's different. You feel the anger and you feel like, I better shut up. I better not say my perspective on it or disagree, because they're over the top to where it's scary. You don't know what is going to come next. So I just thought it was interesting that women bond more with oxytocin release, which is released during sex. Men will bond with that if they love the person. Does our narcissist love us? And is that why they don't feel the connection? Think about that for a second. Have been with men. Mine, I was with 2. So from the female, there are female narcissists. I'm trying to figure that portion out on where the disconnect is with the women. Uh, but there's also, you know, women are usually seen as borderline. Um, it's so interesting. It's fascinating. But comment below on some of the things you pulled from this video. Give me your perspective. I'd like to delve deeper into it. What are some of the things that I've said that you'd like to know more about? And I'll do a lot more research. It's just something I came across, found extremely interesting. Time to go to bed, but there's a lot more I want to research on this, because the brain and the hormones affect us during our depression. How to heal, how to overcome, how to rebalance our cortisol, oxytocin, keep that adrenaline in check, and I'll help you all along the way. Please like and subscribe, share with others. One-on-ones are available, and I'll see you in the next video. Topic requests are always welcome.